Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynic Alex, and today we have the first patch for Marvel Future Revolution, and it's a pretty small patch, but it's pretty interesting to see how the devs are approaching game balance and game changes, especially this early in the game's release, right? The game has been out for less than a month, early July until here on the 25th, and it's not even released worldwide yet. It's only technically available in Canada to players. So it's, you don't want to read too much into this kind of stuff, but at the same time, you do get a sense, you get a feel for how the devs want this game to sort of shake out and what, they're trying to position as more attractive, less attractive, or sort of where they're trying to herd the player base to in general as far as game content goes, and maybe what we can expect as far as like nerfs and buffs go to rewards, game modes, characters, minions, enemies, etc. So we're gonna check this out here today. We're gonna read through it. I'll give you my thoughts, give you my feedback, and then you can hit me up down below in the comments with your feedback as well. So here we go. Oh, also for you guys, in case you're wondering, I'm going to be on a live stream later today at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern time for a GameSpot Marvel Future Revolution event. So don't miss that. Hit that up. You can find more information on Twitter, probably on GameSpot's website as well. It should be very, very fun. So yeah, here we go with the maintenance. The maintenance already happened, so it was very brief maintenance. You've already downloaded the patch if you're playing the game. It was a 12 megabyte patch. It's very, very small. So yeah, let's go ahead and talk about it. The first thing is first, they just changed the Omega War schedule. So they basically just made it on the half an hour, like on the half of the hour rather than on the hour. And this is better because it otherwise conflicted with the daily reset, because the daily reset happens on an hour, not on a half of an hour. So yeah, that's probably why they did it, but this is very minor, inconsequential kind of thing. But most of the other changes they made are sort of consequential, and they basically made adjustments to rewards and other things. Now, the squad XP rewards, the number of squad training manuals that can be acquired through epic quests, epic missions, and squad XP that can be acquired through challenges have been adjusted. It's unclear right now because I haven't gone into the game and like ran a character from 1 to 100 in the past hour since I got up. It's unclear whether it's more or less XP, but I'm guessing it's less XP. It's fewer manuals because two things. One, they're not stating the adjustment, so usually when they don't state the adjustment, it's usually a bad thing. It's just general idea. The second thing is that it's actually very easy, even if you don't invest any money, it's very easy to pump your squad rank up past 100 by just getting characters leveled. You don't even have to level them to 100. I can level multiple characters to level 50, just auto playing through quests and clicking, and you can get tons of squad XP. Right now, I'm at squad rank 96 with very, very minimal investment, and I don't think that is what they want you to do. I mean, obviously they want you to play all of the characters, etc., but I think that they are hoping for the squad battle rank to be a long-term grind, because I believe you can get your squad rank up to possibly 200 or 150. It's well past 100, and some players are already at 120 plus with minimal monetary investment. I don't think they're trying to get you to pay to rank. Like I don't think they're trying to make the squad ranking a paid thing, but I just think they're trying to get players to slow down a little bit. You got to understand, if players can max out their squad rank in less than a month or in a month, if it's something that they wanted to last 3 months or 6 months, then obviously it's something that they're looking into. So yeah, it's not really a big it's not a big penalty. It's not a big issue. You can go through the game. You only need to get up to about squad rank 50, I believe, or 55 to complete all of the content in the game. Everything after that is just going to allow you to level up your squad power higher, because your squad power can't be higher than your squad level, like your squad rank. It's kind of confusing, but so my squad rank is 96, so the highest that I could go with any of these squad power upgrades is 96. So it's just a way to balance you, but to be honest, you're going to be slowed down here by not only the drops, the blueprints, the DNA, the classified data, but also the amount of gold that this costs, right? It's 40,000 gold per upgrade, and it goes up by 5,000 each time. I have a lot of gold right now because I've been stockpiling it, but gold is actually the biggest issue with this patch. So yeah, it's really not the squad battle thing or the squad rank thing. is really not a big issue. The second thing is that they've changed the rewards for Omega War and Dimensional Duel, which is 1 versus 1 PvP. I personally like these changes, but some people, and especially hardcore Omega War players, top Omega War players, will not like these changes. So it benefits some players in the game, and it does disadvantage other players in the game. So essentially, they've added extra Omega War tokens to the rewards in Omega War, and they've reduced by about half, they've reduced the crystal rewards. So obviously when you're reducing crystal rewards, crystal is the premium currency in the game. A lot of pushback from players, a lot of skepticism, a lot of hate is going to come out of that for sure. Just want to assuage your fears. They've added crystals into the 1 versus 1 PvP that were never there before. So the way that it worked before, Omega War would only give you crystals, and you would get some Omega War tokens when you played Omega War. And then Dimensional Duel PvP, the 1 versus 1 PvP, would only give you Dimensional Duel tokens and nothing else. Now, both of the PvP modes give you a moderate amount of crystals and tokens. This, in my mind, makes total sense, because PvP is where they want to focus the crystal rewards. Lots of, mobile games do this nowadays because it not only encourages whales, but it just gets more players playing PvP, which is what you need, right? You need lots of people in PvP in order for the game mode to work. It doesn't function if there aren't enough players. So you want to encourage even the tiniest, even the smallest little shrimp players, the free-to-plays. You want to encourage everyone to get into PvP, not so that whales can smash on them, but so that you can just have a larger player base playing, so you have more variety, right? You don't want to queue up in 1 versus 1 PvP and see the same player multiple times in a row. That's just like a feels bad moment, whether you're going to be beating up on them or they're going to be beating up on you. So I personally think that this change is great. Not only did they do that, but they added an extra bracket of rewards for the lowest tier of Omega War players. So even if you're terrible at Omega War, you have a terrible connection, your internet, whatever, your character that you play is just not well suited to Omega War. Like, to be honest, I don't think Doctor Strange is very well suited to Omega War. I may be wrong. I'm not a big fan of Omega War myself, but he just seems to lag behind other characters in terms of DPS, and he doesn't bring as much utility as characters like Captain America, and he's a lot harder to coordinate for the utility that he does bring. Cap, he just pops his buff and you get the buff. But Doctor Strange, you have to be really close to him. So I'm not really interested in chasing down my allies to try and buff them and get killed along the way because an enemy Black Widow Invisa snipes me or whatever. But yeah, anywho, the point is, even if you're terrible at Omega War, you're not going to be getting 50 crystals a week rather than 0. Small change, but I do think it is a good change. Obviously, players who were very high up in Omega War are going to hate this change because they're losing 1,000+ crystals, but on the other hand, it does benefit a lot of other players, and you can get those crystals back in some way by playing the 1 versus 1 PvP. So it's really just more of a balancing act. They don't want to make one game mode the source of all good rewards, because then that puts an unnecessary amount of stress on the player base. You're like, oh man, I have to play Omega War. Even if I hate it, I have to play this game mode to get these good rewards because I can't get them anywhere else. You actually can't farm crystals from that many game modes. There's some passive ways to farm crystals as far as like doing collectible quests and things like that, but those will eventually run out. But otherwise, there's not very many active game modes where you go and you play and you get crystals weekly. So it's good that they're sort of diversifying that rather than stacking it all on one game mode. We saw that with MFF years ago, where they just kept stacking all of the best rewards in World Boss, and it really does not help the game long term. It really does make the game boring long term because people figure out the meta really quickly and they just stick to that to get the rewards because that's just all they want, and then it just makes the gameplay a lot more stale. So this way, it'll be a lot more varied. As mid as I think Doctor Strange is for Omega War, I think he's a lot better, for example, in 1 versus 1 PvP. Like, I can hard counter certain classes just by having debuff immunity on a skill. So I'm pretty happy with this, but obviously some players will not be. So yeah, those are the changes. Those are in my opinion, the big changes as far as rewards go. Then they're also changing a couple of other things. So here's pretty much the only change that I think is really bad. They are increasing the amount of sin particles that you need to craft. So before it was 3 and now it's 5. It's unclear exactly what you are crafting, the balance of items consumed during craft, sin particles and stable convergent particles have been adjusted. So the wider idea, I think, here is that they're trying to slow down how often players are able to craft regional gear. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll head over to the workshop in Omega Lab HQ, and in the workshop you can craft a whole bunch of different things. You can craft different types of particles, the convergent particles, in order to roll your gear up to higher levels. Over here, you can craft higher levels of the specialization items. If you have a lot of one type and not a lot, like a lot of one level and not a lot of the next level, and then these enhancers. But the main thing that I think people use in the workshop here is they craft the regional gear. And you need the regional item to craft the gear. You need sin particles, as you can see. So they bumped up the number of sin particles that you need, and they lowered the number of convergent particles that you need, these purple boys. Now, the sin particles are very difficult to farm because basically I think you can only farm them from special operations. There may be something that you can buy to get extra ones daily or weekly, but yeah, special operations right now, you don't even get them from your weekly ranking. You just get them from actually playing. You can see here there's a sin particle box, 8 to 12 sin particles drop. I'm not sure if they buffed the number of sin particles that drop there, but you can only get that once per day. So it's a pretty big bottleneck, and I think the wider goal is to slow down the acquisition of an entire regional set by players. Now, obviously, you know, there's the angle of, well, they're trying to make money. Yes, mobile games need to make money. That's the whole point. It's a business first, right? So there's that. I do think that it's a bit questionable, specifically increasing the quantity of the sin particles. It just feels like an unnecessary bottleneck. They could have done something else. They could have added an extra item to the equation. You know, they could have increased the gold cost. Gold cost is another issue that I'm a little bit iffy about, but yeah, the sin particle one feels kind of bad. But I think that the goal there, and you'll see from other changes that they've made, is I think the goal here is to slow down regional set acquisition, because some players were overnight farming the regional items, which is fine. It's an MMO, like, you're supposed to farm a lot, but because of the low cost of sin particles, they've almost doubled it, right? So obviously it was low in their opinion. They were able to craft a lot of these regional boxes, open a lot of them, and then get, even though it says a low chance to acquire, they would get the whole set. You know, I have a little bit of anecdotal evidence. We don't know the rates on these boxes, in terms of how often you get one of the set items. You can see what's droppable here, but I do know, again, anecdotally, that at least 2 players, again, small number, of course, but I know at least 2 players who were basically free to play and have played since the game dropped, so less than a month, and they were already able to obtain a full regional set. Maybe that's too fast. Maybe that's the sort of the message they're trying to send. You know, the game is supposed to be a long-term grind. If you're able to complete your regional set in less than a month, and that's basically the set you're going to rock with for the rest of the game for that character, that may be a little bit too fast, right? That may not be what they want. They want you to spend more time looking for these pieces. They're trying to make them feel rare and feel epic, so that when you find the piece that you're missing, that you're looking for, you're like, oh man, right? If it's really easy to get, then it sort of creates a different experience for players, and that's maybe not what they want. Again, I'm speculating on why they were trying to do this, but you know, I can see the negatives and the positives in it either way. So yeah, the crafting rewards, or the crafting costs, have basically been increased. The gold consumption of crafting immediately has also been doubled. So again, I feel like they're trying to slow down players from crafting regional sets too fast. I think that's the majority of crafting going on. They've also increased the cost of med kits. In terms of gold, it's not a lot. You can see 90 gold, 100 gold, but that's for one. You usually don't buy one, you buy 100. So what that means is, instead of costing 9,000 gold, it's going to cost 10,000. Instead of costing 20,000 gold at the high end, it's going to cost 30,000 gold. That's not a lot, but you usually don't buy 100 med kits at once. You buy like 200 or 300. So that's going to add up over time, and this especially hurts players who are climbing to level 100. Once you're level 100, you don't use medkits that often. You don't use the potions that often, that much. Like, you maybe use them in like ultimate raids and a couple of other pieces of content, but there's lots of content where you can't even heal. like special ops. You just like an all PvP, you can't heal. You can't use pots in there. So yeah, there's not a lot of medkit usage once you hit level 100, but it will make the gold, the management of your gold from level 1 to 100 a lot trickier, and you're gonna have to be a lot more careful, because the one thing you don't want is you're stuck on a piece of content, you blow all your gold, and then you realize, oops, I don't have any potions, I don't have any med kits. Now you can't progress in the content because you're dying, and you can't heal yourself because you don't have any gold to buy med kits. So yeah, strongly recommend paying attention to that. They've also increased, simultaneously they increased the gold cost to revive your character. Keep in mind, you can revive your character infinitely if you're in a regular mission, but when you're in those missions that you have to press start on, where you have a progress bar and you have to go through each step before you can finish the mission, those like sort of single player dungeons where you can't even have help, those ones you can only revive once in anyways. So that's the more difficult content, usually when you're fighting bosses and things like that, but the cost is going to rise there as well. Again, it makes sense. It's sort of a logical, it feels bad to have the costs increase, especially considering how much gold we need for everything in the game. But at the same time, it makes sense, right? It doesn't make sense that it's only 5,000 gold everywhere. It makes sense that it'll still be 5,000 gold in New Stark City, which they didn't mention here. It's only going to go up by 5k for each new zone that you're in. But 25k is 5 times as much as it was before. So again, you're going to have to really be careful, especially when you get to the harder parts of the game, Midgardia and Sakaar. You're going to need to always be floating 60,000 gold, in my opinion, because that's gold for 1 or 2 revives, and it's also gold for 1 or 2 purchases of 100 medkits. If you're not floating at least 60,000 gold, you're asking to get sort of soft locked in a zone. That really leaves us with the larger issue of needing more gold. There isn't a dedicated place in the game to farm gold. I mean, there's obviously lots of different, basically every content gives you a piece of gold. Why am I walking around here? Basically every piece of content gives you a small to moderate amount of gold. You get 50,000 a day from special ops. You get a little bit here and there from other game modes. You get them from battle challenges. Some of the battle challenges anyways, you get them from, you know, Blitz, right? Blitz is probably the best game mode to farm, sort of farm gold, but even on the high end, it's only 20,000 for one run of the highest Blitz. So in my opinion, I think that gold is probably one of the biggest bottlenecks, and it's one of the most consistent bottlenecks. You will have gold issues from level 1 all the way to level 100 and beyond. Like, even though I'm making extra characters, I've got 2 characters now basically at 100. Black Widow's just, you know, crawling her way to 100. I have 3 more characters at level 50. Like, I've been busy, right? And so duplicating all those missions is giving me tons of gold, and I'm still strapped for gold, right? You have to donate 100,000 gold daily to your alliance. It's really a lot. So I'm hoping that a patch in the future will address gold, or possibly double the amount of gold that you get in Blitz. I think that would be an easy and fair fix. Or, you know, add an extra game mode, add a quick little daily game mode that you can just farm gold in specifically. But I think right now, besides something like Sin Particles, gold is definitely the biggest and the most important bottleneck, because it affects all players, right? If you're a newer player, Sin Particles don't really matter that much, to be honest. You can build up a decent amount before you might even get to a zone where you need to start using them, because, you know, the Sin Particles are mostly used for crafting regional sets. If the regional set you're going for is Midgardia or Sakaar, you're only going to get there when you're level 70 plus or 60 plus. So those first 60 levels, especially if you're not playing hardcore, you can farm up a lot of Sin Particles by playing through special ops every single day. You know, maybe it takes you 2 weeks to get to level 60 or 70 because you're just a casual player. By that time, you're going to have hundreds of Sin Particles, right? So it doesn't necessarily affect all players like that, but gold definitely does, right? You're going to feel the gold squeeze. You're going to feel the gold squeeze from, you know, minute 1, basically. So yeah, those are the patch notes. There's a couple of other bug fixes here. Sorry, there's one more thing. They did a product change for things that you could purchase in the shop. They got rid of the regular bundles, and they changed these bundles to cost crystals instead of real money. So this is a bit of an interesting change. It's good and bad, but I'll just basically highlight it for you. So these bundles here, these weekly bundles that you see, they used to cost real money. So I believe that the weekly ticket supply bundle for me was $36 Canadian, and then the smaller 1,000 crystal bundles were about $11 or $14. It's difficult because sometimes it shows it for me in US and sometimes it shows it for me in Canadian. Anywho, they changed it to cost crystals. This is good for players who don't spend much. Like it's good for free to play and low spending players, because it means if you can build up crystals through the membership, like the daily crystal thing, or if you just grind crystals through Omega War and PvP and stuff like that, then you can buy these things. Whereas if you weren't spending money, you could never buy these because they were always locked behind the paywall, right? So it does open it up to be purchasable by a larger number of players. However, there are already a lot of things that you want to spend crystals on, so the crystal cost is going to hurt players who are spending a lot of crystals, i.e. whales, krakens, omega whales, octopi, etc. And I've talked about this before in a video, but the cost to buy crystals is quite expensive. So the awkward thing here, for example, if I just wanted to buy let's say I didn't have any crystals, and I wanted to buy the 1,000 crystal squad rank up supply bundle. I wanted to buy this one. This is 1,000 crystals. I don't have any crystals. Let me go buy 1,000. Oopsie, I can't buy 1,000. If I want to spend a similar amount of money, because remember, this cost either $11 or $14 for me. $9 is only going to get me 580 crystals, so I'm going to have to buy that twice. Or I can spend $27 to get a little bit more than I need, right? I get almost enough crystals to buy it twice, but now I'm spending more money overall. Instead of spending $14, I'm spending $27. So they're getting you on the hook for more, right? So it's good and it's bad, but I think, again, the easy way to remedy this is to just offer better, more competitive crystal purchases. I think these crystal purchases right now are just a little over-tuned as far as their cost goes. Either they need to increase the bonus crystals, they need to like double, triple the bonus crystals, or they need to adjust the prices, or they need to adjust the prices on these crystal packs here, like these things that you buy for crystals. They still have these other packs that are here that you can buy for real money. They didn't change all of the weekly bundles, but they did change some of the popular ones. So it's an interesting change. It's not all bad. It's great for some players, but it's only one man's opinion. Hit me up in the comments down below. Let me know what you think of the patch notes. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.